Hello and welcome to the 41st episode of When I Was Your Age, a podcast celebrating the careers, callings, and creativity of some friends of mine. I'm your host, Roland Parker, and as always, it's a joy, pleasure, and a treat to have you here. Today's guest is Jack Carlile, and we're about to get spicy in this one. I'm excited to talk about everything that he's into with Riverbend Hot Sauce and his YouTube channel. I think you guys will find it really enticing. Some housekeeping before we get started with Jack, though. Make sure that you follow the Instagram at WIWYA pod. And our current follower count is 1,513 at the time of recording. So I appreciate all the support week in and week out. That means a lot. If you are here for the first time, I'd encourage you to give us a follow on the platform of your choice. You can do that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. And if you're more in the visual game, you want to see the back and forth and the facial expressions and stuff like that, you can watch episodes on YouTube, and Spotify has a video feature as well. Links for all these places are in the link tree in the Instagram bio. And without further ado, we'll bring Jack to the stage. Jack, what's going on with you, man?
Not much. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Of course, man. Glad to do it. Glad to do it. What's been going on in the past week for you?
Decent amount of stuff. I was traveling for work last week, and then this weekend just hanging out, tending to my garden and stuff like that, and just regular Tuesday this week.
Nice. Where all did you end up for work?
I was traveling to Alpharetta, Georgia. Yeah, so just north of Atlanta. Nothing exotic.
No, nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
Love that. Well, it's if you guys aren't already, make sure that you follow Jack on Instagram. So you can do that with his personal page and Riverbend Hot Sauce. We've got both pages listed up there, and we've also got to make sure that we plug the YouTube channel, Jack's Pepper Patch. So make sure that you go follow those places there. We will add all of those spots in the show notes, so that you can find links there. You're looking at them if you're watching these episodes too.
Nice. I really appreciate that, man. And when you were doing the intro, I was backstage. I heard that you have 1,500 on Instagram. That's a big deal. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's been fun. I think one thing that really lends to the growth, especially on Instagram, is that with this being kind of an interview style, and each episode comes with like a new person, like we're just gathering, maybe a few people here and there each episode because of like the mutual following, the mutual connections, or just people who are interested in it that have come up from previous guests. They want to see, and maybe they only follow for their one friend that was on there.
Yeah.
But then we stick around for the engagement. So we love to see that.
Awesome.
Well, I got some get to know you questions we like to ask everybody. These just as kind of a baseline, helps me get in the rhythm for the flow of the episodes too.
Okay.
But tell me, where are you from and where do you currently live?
Yeah, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, more specifically Vestavia, same as you. And I currently live in Nashville, Tennessee.
Nice. Lovely. What do you do?
As far as like for work, I got a degree in construction science. So I worked for a general contractor, and now I actually work with a company that does construction robotics. So we have a construction robot that drives around the job site and does like your surveying for you. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So what
cool.
Yeah, we'll have to dive into this a little more later, but like to what degree are you operating the robot, or are you like helping to set parameters for it to follow? Like how does that work?
Yeah, so I just help, I'm all post sales with it, and when general contractors or specialty contractors buy or rent this robot, I just help them, use it, check in with them, make sure everything's going well. If they have like a support case, something's going wrong with it, I help them out with that. So
nice. So very customer success, like with
definitely.
It.
Yeah,
nice.
It's been cool.
Very cool. That's awesome. How old are you?
I'm 28 years old, so I'll turn 29 later this year.
Nice. Excellent. And what piece of media are you currently enjoying? So book, music, podcast, TV show. What are you diving into as of late?
Okay, so the biggest thing lately is we've been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Mm,
It's like all the way through. I'd seen like episodes of it with my dad. We'd always watch it like I feel like throughout kind of like high school and then college, like while on breaks and stuff. But I've never just watched it all the way through. So my fiance and I are watching that right now and loving it. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's really good.
yeah, I've never seen it all the way through. But my roommate in college, he used to watch it a lot. And the big like big comfort show for us is definitely New Girl, and they actually have
Okay.
one
Yeah.
crossover episode where they go to New York for one of the characters like high school reunions, and then
Mm,
there's an altercation or an incident that happens, and they end up in the precinct, kind of interacting with the characters
yeah.
from that show.
I think we just saw that episode. It's hilarious because I think how the crossover gets introduced is someone gets like hit by a car and it's a crossover SUV and like it's a crossover.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "What?" And he's like, "The car, it's a crossover." But
It's a
not
crossover.
the
You can see
car.
it.
Yeah.
Love that.
So,
What's something that you'd consider a luxurious necessity, kind of blurring the lines, if you will, of a need and a want, maybe integrated into the routine? What do you think of when I say that?
um, I'll tell you what I've been using a lot lately is Apple CarPlay
Okay.
is just like one of the best things ever. It's
Yeah.
especially just I mentioned I was traveling for work last week and just having that ability to like talk to text and have it read texts and stuff. I'm thankful that I have a car that has it and
Mm,
grateful for that. But yeah, it's funny. Like whenever I drive my fiance's car or anything, I'm like, oh, it doesn't have that,
yeah.
and I can get where I'm going and everything, but it's definitely become part of my routine.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm kind of the opposite where my car doesn't have it, but I look forward to driving my wife's car because it
Okay.
does,
Yeah.
have it, and I know that I can kind of kick back with the luxury of all of the interplay with that. I do love it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I get that. That's a great answer.
Mine's the old version. It's only wired, so I have to, plug my phone in to get the
Yeah,
CarPlay.
yeah, same.
I've had a few rental cars lately that are the wireless CarPlay. I'm like, that's pretty nice,
That's pretty
but
nice.
not nice enough to justify new car price, but still.
Sure. No doubt. Um, do you have any bits that you're doing? Got running jokes that you kind of have for yourself or with your fiance, for example? Anything that kind of comes up there?
Um, I can't I can't really think of any bits I'm doing. Maybe I had I had one on my YouTube. I grew this one pepper plant in this just random yellow bucket, and and this guy commented on the on the video. It turned out to be just like this beautiful plant, very productive. And he said, "Dude, it's the bucket. It's magic." And so I don't know, as I've been doing like videos on my plants this year and stuff, I'm like, and in the magic bucket this year we have it's one of those
Nice.
comments that just like is so random, but it's at the top comment, and like I don't even know if this guy's subscribed to me or sees my updates on it, but I feel like in my head I have some subscribers who are catching on. That one's the yellow one. That one's the magic bucket.
Yeah. Excellent. I
That's
love
probably
that
the
as
closest thing
a
to a bit.
yeah, I love that as a through line for your channel of like knowing that's kind of a special piece.
Yeah.
Nice. Next question here is if you had the opportunity to replace the national anthem with any song on your playlist, tell me what song you might choose and why that might be.
Ooh. So one on my playlist. That's a hard one because like I feel like there's songs that would make more sense to be the national anthem
Sure.
than what currently is, like America 'Tis of Thee or America the Beautiful. Um,
Mhm.
if I had to, I'm I'm trying to think of something like something classic. you know.
Yeah.
If I said like a modern song, I feel like that might be like a little weird. Maybe like a Bruce Springsteen song, like Born to Run is a
Okay.
good one that comes to mind. I don't know. Um, yeah, Born to Run would be a good one because I think he mentions like the American dream and stuff like that in it, and just is like upbeat, and you know, I
Yeah,
think that might be
I think
what I'd
that's
put.
a great answer. I think
Cool.
sonically that kind of works for me, um,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
I
So
could see it just like at like a baseball game or something, like jamming out and then fly by and all that.
yes, absolutely. Well, what one thing that's kind of special about um, this question is that we take all the answers and compile them into a playlist. So if you want to hear Jack's answer of Born to Run,
Okay,
you can go to the When I Was Your Age um, playlist on Spotify. That's available in the link tree,
cool.
and you can go listen to everybody else's answer as well. I think it's kind of fun. I like listening to it and listen to it in the car sometimes.
Yeah,
Get kind of in the
seems like
headspace of
that
like,
could be
oh
like a
yeah,
wide variety of music, which
oh,
is
100%. Yeah,
kind of
because
like all my playlists, but
yeah,
it's awesome.
definitely. Well, it's fun too because like some people like they go maybe a little more on the serious side.
Hmm.
They're like, oh yeah, like I don't know how I feel about maybe a modern song. I want to go something a little older or classic or
Yeah.
whatever. And then some people like without missing a beat, they're like, I need the Black Eyed Peas right now. So
Oh, that'd be crazy.
yeah, so that's what I love is it's like eclectic, but because it's all from this podcast, it's cohesive in that way. So
Yeah, I'll
that's
have to
what
search for it. It's like a common tie.
yeah, 100%. And then last question is how do we know each other?
Through track.
Yeah,
So I think like probably middle school track. Like you're a year younger than me coming up, and through track, and then I think did some field events, maybe a little pole vaulting. I know you kind
yeah,
of settled on the hurdles, but you did pole vault for a bit, right?
yeah. It's a,
Like tried it.
I didn't really do it until high school, and
Yeah,
I think I didn't do it until either my sophomore year or junior year.
I
Um,
only did it senior year in high
nice.
school, so it probably yeah. I can't remember if I was on like the vault squad first or if you were, but I remember
Yeah.
doing it with you, and then I remember like the hurdles was like your big thing. But yeah, definitely through track, a lot of good memories there. Just like cutting up on the bus or like in the endless hours in the stands at the crossplex and stuff.
Mhm. Oh, 100%. Funny enough, so I went to a street vault, as I went in, like, the alumni division with Coach Spear because it was,
Yeah.
like, his, like, event. So I competed and then, like, volunteered, like, after and was, like, just hanging out there. But I so saw him obviously,
Wow.
but then
Yeah.
also, while I was there, saw, Coach Williams
Cool.
from middle school cross country and
Yeah.
track too. So got to interact with him. That was kind of a cool full circle moment.
He's awesome. I ran into him once at Moe's Barbecue in Lakeview. I just
Nice.
randomly like looked up. I was like, oh my gosh, that's Coach Williams. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then I have Coach Spear on like Instagram and stuff, so I kept up with the vault and everything. That looked like a really cool event.
Yeah, it was really cool to see, especially the people who were actually good.
Yeah,
It's watching them
yeah,
competing. Yeah, it was unique. With I've always felt that it would be really cool to see like some average Joes competing in the Olympics, like just putting up some
yeah,
really basic numbers, kind of as like a mark of like visual cue for like yeah these people are really good, and
yeah.
here's one way you can know.
Versus I'm like
But
on the couch. I'm like, man, they over rotated.
it's a yeah,
Like, what are
it's
they
a
thinking? Like,
exactly. Which
yeah,
way? It's a the key to winning the 100-meter is just run faster. Like, I don't know. I
yeah,
don't know why they just don't. But yeah, it was cool to see because there were so many different divisions. Like the
hmm,
people who were like really excelling, I was like, oh yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
Um,
That's cool.
super cool opportunity. Well, let's kind of dive into your story. So I don't want to take too much away from you laying it out there, but I couldn't help
Okay.
it but read a little from the website that you started this in COVID. So did
Yes.
you imagine when you first like kind of ventured out that this is where you would be like right now?
No, yeah, I had no idea. I was honestly just doing it like to pass the time. So I moved to Nashville in June 2020, which was a crazy time in the world. And I was actually moving from San Antonio, Texas. So I'd lived there for like a year and a half, and then moved from San Antonio to Nashville in height of COVID. Like, had to rent my house like sight unseen, all that all that
Wow.
stuff, and um, got here, and yeah, my house had like a yard and a porch, and after work I just wasn't doing anything, and I was like, uh, I think like one weekend, my now fiance visited, and we went to Home Depot, and I was like, I'm just gonna get like a pepper plant. Like it'd be nice to maybe have some jalapenos to spice up my food because we love to cook together. Um, and yeah, it kind of just took off from there. Like started as one jalapeno plant turned into multiple, and the next thing I knew, I had too many peppers to do anything reasonable with. So I thought, you know, like, what do I do with all these? And I'm Googling what to do with peppers. And one thing that kept coming up was like, make a hot sauce. Like, it's not too hard, a couple basic ingredients. And I made one just, for fun. And then gave it to some family and coworkers. And they were like, this is amazing. Like, this is some of the best hot sauce I've had. So, yeah, it really just ran from there, both on like the growing side and the garden side, and then the hot sauce side as well. It's a
Nice.
slippery slope.
Yeah, well, I think that's like a lot of people's stories is that they picked up something in the midst of the pandemic, and then they have just kind of stuck through it, and it's transformed into something that is very different from when they first started out. So I love that that's been your experience. Um,
Yeah,
when did you first connect with hot sauce? Was hot sauce always something that you um like enjoyed and ate and like had with your food, or was it just kind of the byproduct of like I've got too many peppers?
I feel like I definitely did not grow up a crazy hot sauce person. Like I don't know, just my family weren't big hot sauce people. Um, Not like against it or anything. It's just not something, that we always had on the table or anything. I feel like when I started to kind of get into the spicy food thing was when I lived in San Antonio, before I lived in Nashville.
Sure.
There's just so much good Mexican food down there, just being a couple hours from the border. And yeah, just really got in the habit of having it then. And like I mentioned, like to cook a lot. So do just like a lot of different cooking, and so many recipes call for different hot sauces and stuff. So kind of got into it that way, like in more recent years, I'd say.
Nice. Yeah. And you mentioned that like when you first kind of presented this like to your friends and family that they thought like, wow, this is really good. So was it any of them that kind of first presented the idea of you selling the hot sauce or making a company and brand out of it? Or was this something that kind of came to you over time?
I think like my first, with friends and family, it was just kind of like a fun thing. Like I even, some at some point in that summer of 2020, went home and was hanging out with my parents, and at that point, you still couldn't go out and do anything. So I like brought some peppers and ingredients, and that was like our Saturday activity was we made some hot sauce together. So it was more of just like a fun thing with friends and family, I'd say. The first person to actually like, I guess, inspire me to monetize it was one of my coworkers at my old company. His name's Mike Marchman, and I'd always like have him try my hot sauce and stuff. And he was the first person who was like, dude, you could sell this. Like, you need to get into selling this. And he was like, I'll be your first customer if you give me this. And I just brought like one little bottle of work. So I was making like a bottle at the time. And he's like, I'll give you like $10 for this right now, if you let me take it home. I was like, uh, okay. So then yeah, I sold that one to him. And it was pretty cool too once I started kind of selling some to friends and coworkers, because that just allowed me to make more batches and experiment more. Like if I was just making hot sauces for fun, I'd be overwhelmed. But it's kind of fun to make a batch, try it, and be like, yeah, that one turned out great. Like, here you go, give it to people or sell it to people, and get their thoughts on it. And then that opens up my refrigerator and everything to make new batches. So pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Um, so because of that, like you started to maybe have like a little a greater need um for peppers, you know, for bigger batches and stuff. Is the passion for the hot sauce or the need for the business what came before your interest in gardening?
Um,
Or was it kind of like, I'm interested in gardening and that's how the peppers kinda
I,
kinda came about?
yeah, I feel like it could go both ways. Definitely, like I would say, if if you're looking at purely like chicken or the egg, the plants came first, and I just enjoyed like being outside and um, like working on planters and stuff and growing the plants. But then after making sauces and trying the sauces and trying the peppers, I feel like that is where it really started to take off, because I'd be like, like I really like this type of pepper, and it's this species. They make another one of the another pepper that's very similar. Like, I better get the seeds for that one and try that variety. So that's where it like really went crazy, and I think like a couple years ago I had over 20 different varieties growing of peppers. So yeah, I feel like initially plants, but then the hot sauce did fuel me like growing more varieties of the plants.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt. I can imagine that they play off of each other in a
Definitely.
certain way. Um, you mentioned having, 20 or so varieties at one point. Is there any one particular flavor or variety that you're kind of drawn to the most or is your favorite? I imagine that these things are cyclical and you get really excited
Yeah.
about one flavor, like in a season, but tell me about maybe some of the favorites that you've had.
Yeah, there's a couple that I'm super stoked on that are definitely standouts. So one type of pepper is called the Fatali pepper. Um, and and again, that's not like one that you'd find at the store. Um, and in the scheme of things, there's really not that many species of peppers. So it's actually the same exact species as like a habanero.
Okay.
And I think how the story goes is, you know, 400, 500 years ago, whenever kind of trans-ocean trade started, someone brought habanero seeds from where they're indigenous in South America to Africa. And then when they grew there in the hotter, drier environment, sandier soils, they evolved into the Fatali pepper as like its own separate variety. Um, so love Fatali peppers. And then there's like another variety of Fatali peppers called white Fatalis, and that one is definitely, if I had to pick a favorite pepper, it's the best one. And the one that's in kind of like my flagship sauce is the white Fatali pepper. So those are super cool, and the Fatalis just have the perfect heat level for me for a sauce, and then also they have really good flavor too. And like, it's insane when you take one and slice it open. It's like the second you slice it, you just get hit with this like aroma, and they just smell amazing like when you slice them. So I think that's
Mhm.
why they're my favorite.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I love like a good, like strong, like flavorful pepper. I think that that is a pretty common line for people when they're talking about like, oh, like as if it's hot, like I do want it to be flavorful and not just
Yeah,
hot for hot sake. I think there are some psychos out there that are like, no, like crank up the Scovels, like
exactly.
just. But like I would argue that most people are like, I want it to be flavorful and hot,
Yeah,
and kind of um purposeful in the way that I'm engaging
yeah. It's like
with it there.
a lot of people, a lot of hot sauces are just like the most extreme heat ever, which like it surprises some people. Tell them I'm not about that. Like I can be kind of a baby with some of those. I'll ride like right in the middle, and then some of the more mild sauces, can be just like straight vinegar. So you don't want
Mhm.
that either. Like you want like good flavor, but then mild is nice too. And I feel like growing these different varieties of peppers helps with that. Like most hot sauces you see at the store, like either jalapeno, habanero, or then if they're one of the insane ones, they might be like ghost pepper or Carolina Reaper. But there's so many good peppers that, ride that middle zone that are just not grown commercially. So kind of miss out on those.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I think with most everything, when you first like really start doing a deep dive into the content, you're starting to engage with maybe subreddits that are
Yep.
like specific and unique to that. There's always these really specific niches that, there's communities that surround these kind of things. So I'm wondering, are there resources that you look to for acquiring different varietals or like advice on how to appease the temperament of different plants? Are there different pros that you look to?
Yeah, you nailed it on the head with Reddit. So there's some really good subreddits about peppers. Some people are just insane with it. I found some really good resources on YouTube as well. So there's some super famous YouTube channels like so much more famous than me, like Chili Chump and Pepper Geek, that are just kind of like pioneers in the space. Like everybody knows them and will make comments on their videos, and whatever they're doing for their garden that year, whatever the trend is for like nutrients or whatever, that's what everyone's doing. There's another guy, Kang Star. He's developed several pepper varieties, and he has a YouTube, and he's also just super into like hydroponics and all these little projects and stuff. So I've definitely been following him for a long time and kind of look up to him. And he's got like Facebook pages and subreddits where all they do is talk about his pepper strains or his current challenges he's running and things like that. So yeah, it's actually like a crazy community when you, like you said, when you go beneath the surface.
Yeah, 100%. Have you thought about or ever attended like a conference like on or like a gathering of any kind
I
for
haven't.
these peppers?
No, I haven't. There was one in Nashville like last summer that I saw. It was one of those like crazy ones, but I think I was out of town that weekend. Um, but yeah, I would love to at some point. Be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you mentioned like YouTube channels like being, far beyond your own, but I don't think that it's anything to sneeze at because you have, so how many subscribers at this point?
Yeah, I actually just like 2 weeks ago hit 10,000. So
Amazing.
that was like a big personal milestone for me. It was awesome. So YouTube is it's very finicky, but it's cool to see results.
Yeah, 100%. Well, tell me about how you first started getting involved in YouTube because that, while it does seem like those might go hand in hand, um, it is a little bit of a different beast in the way that you have to tackle it. So tell me about how you started with, putting content on YouTube, especially as it relates to growing your peppers.
Yeah, I just um like I've always liked videography and stuff. Like nothing like crazy scenic or professional, but I feel like whenever I have a question in life, like what's going on with my car or like how do I fix my grill or something, I'll go to YouTube. And so I was just like, I feel like from being a YouTube user for so many years and stuff, I maybe saw some content gaps and stuff. Um, and yeah, so I just one day was like, I'm just gonna upload a little like how-to video on something gardening related. And I did it, and it got like 30 views or something. And it is kind of like a drug, like seeing the views go up and trying to like refresh
Yeah.
and then like you get a subscriber to, and you're like, well, dang, I guess I gotta make another video for my subscribers. Um, so yeah, it's cool. I definitely started it out just like for fun and just to kind of document my plants and stuff because peppers are annual plants. Um, well, they're actually perennials. I have a video on that, but I don't want to get called out by anybody. Um, but most of my pepper plants I grow as annuals here in Tennessee. So I kind of started making videos just for fun to document them, and because 5 years from now, I'm like, oh, remember that awesome pepper plant I grew that one year? Like that thing was cool. So I feel like for me, it'll be cool to have like videos to go back to and watch and stuff. I'm fortunate enough that I guess people liked my pepper videos, just my plants and stuff. So just kind of kept posting more. And yeah, it's all pretty dull until I feel like YouTube is so random. Like you might just randomly have a video take off. I had a
Hmm.
couple that just out of nowhere kind of blew up. Some had been sitting for like a year after I'd posted the video to YouTube. It have, normal like maybe a couple hundred, and then one day you look and it's like, wow, that video got 4,000 views in the last 24 hours. And
Wow.
so yeah, I've had a couple big ones blow up, and that's what I attribute most of my subscribers and stuff to. But definitely still have some of those like loyal random internet friends that I know nothing about who comment on my videos and like, dude, I subscribed when you posted that video like way long ago. It's cool to see the garden progress and stuff. And I'm like, Philip, what up? And then I'm like, never met this person, or they have just like a crazy random username. But yeah, it's been fun.
Nice. Well, I love getting to see that. It's always like really rewarding and um, neat and satisfying to see when people who are just putting in the work and like pursuing something that they love to for it to kind of all of a sudden kind of fall into place in that way. Um,
Yeah,
and I think that channels and content that pursue what they want and do it well. There, it's just more genuine to see it that way rather than like chasing like with, um, the really grabby like thumbnails and stuff like that.
yeah,
So you could see the real value in like if I was just starting it out in peppers, like going and doing some research on Jack's Pepper Palace or Pepper Patch.
yeah.
So
I always try to like make a YouTube video that I would like to watch. And
mm,
like, it's funny when, if I'm watching it, if I'm trying to figure out, man, what the heck is going on with my plant? Like, why is it wilting, or what is this weird bug that's eating my peppers? If I were to search that on YouTube and someone does like a minute intro of them talking at a desk and then like brings you to the garden and then has their like crazy intro thing flying around, I just like, I feel like to me that doesn't appeal to me. And so on my videos, I'm always just like start the video like, "What's up, guys?" and then just go to it. And I've had several people comment and be like, "Man, I normally don't comment, but thank you so much for like getting right to it and stuff like that." So
that's
I
awesome.
feel like building off what you said, that like if you make the type of content that you would like to consume, I feel like it's like a setup for success. You'll attract like-minded people for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the same way, it seems like you'd be a little less likely to get burnt out in making it, a little less anxious about, like, making it happen because it's what you like to do anyway.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, tell me about some of the projects that you've like taken on in an effort to improve the garden because you've mentioned hydroponics and different stuff like looking up things on YouTube. I'd imagine
Yeah,
that making certain raised beds or introducing new strategies in that way that would be valuable in trying to maximize your yield if you're working with a fixed space. So tell me about that.
definitely. Yeah, that's like one of my favorite parts of it. And like all going back to kind of the construction thing. Um, Probably one of the most valuable things I did this year. That's been one of the biggest bang for your buck type things. Um, Pretty much every year I've added new raised beds. This year was one of the first years that I really didn't add any new ones, but I've added a new dimension to my space. I added some big trellises, like some big archways, and I made those with it's called cattle panel fences from just like Lowe's or Home
Okay.
Depot. So it's like a galvanized wire mesh thing,
Yeah.
and they're 16 feet long, and then you just put 4 T-posts in the ground, and then you make an arch between it. So it's like an 8-foot tall, sturdy metal arch. That was a really fun project, and it's was pretty inexpensive. Each one was like under $50 for all the parts, but it's just been added a whole nother dimension. Like I can grow my tomatoes vertically on one, and then like squash vertically on another, which just opens up so much garden space for like peppers and other things that don't climb and stuff like that. So that's been cool. Definitely like the hydroponic projects. That's just like a whole different world. It's insane when you start getting into it, all the different systems and things, and really cool too. I think a lot of it's very futuristic and where kind of commercial
Yeah.
commercial food production needs to go. So yeah, I have like done a few different hydroponic systems on the channel. Everything from like reusing an old protein powder jar to grow peppers in, to like Lowe's 5-gallon buckets. I actually got like an actual hydroponic system inside that I need to put together for a future video. So all that's really fun, and like with hydroponics, it gets into some like electronics type stuff too, with like simple timers and
Yeah.
pumps and things that are fun to put together. So yeah,
No,
definitely a big
that's
aspect of
amazing.
it for me.
Yeah, no doubt. That it's amazing to see all of the different passions and aspects of the main focus that
Yeah.
come into play over the course of time. It's like originally it set out to with like peppers, and now
Hmm.
like you already had some expertise on the construction side, but there's this engineering kind of piece. There's
For sure.
hydroponics and aquaponics, and that comes with all different all
Yep.
different fields kind of converging on each other.
All these little things that just tee off of the main hobby that, that could be your whole hobby. Like, and there's whole YouTube channels and subreddits and everything dedicated to all of that. It's really crazy.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Well, tell me, yeah, you mentioned a few other plants besides peppers. Are there any other plants that are kind of like your main focus, or like what all do you tend to grow in your garden?
Yeah. So yeah, peppers are definitely the biggest chunk of it. Like, I would say time and like area wise. But yeah, I just love growing other stuff too. So I normally grow some garden staples like squash, cucumbers, and okra. My other thing that I love to grow, and occasionally I'll put on my YouTube channel because it's very similar to peppers, is tomatoes. There's just, you can't beat a homegrown tomato. And again, that could be its whole separate hobby because there's so many cool varieties of tomatoes that are these heirloom varieties that you would never find in a store or anything like that.
Yeah,
And they just taste so much better for you. And so, yeah, I really enjoy growing tomatoes as well. They're in the
nice.
nightshade, like family, and so is peppers. So similar, like light requirements, nutrient requirements, things like that. So yeah,
Gotcha.
kind of
So
hand in
that
hand.
so that it's very intuitive, like in the way that you would be growing your tomatoes and stuff. You're doing a lot of the same kinds of
Definitely.
things.
Yeah, like I
Yeah,
started them at the same time this year. Like I had my peppers in one tray, tomatoes in another. Um, they kind of like grew up together. So
nice. Well, love that. Well, do you ever take the tomatoes or other parts of your garden and incorporate them into the hot sauces?
um, I'm trying to think if I've used many of them in the hot sauces. So I like to do hot sauces that are mixed with fruits. A lot of those are like tropical fruits that I can't grow.
Yeah,
Um, I've tried to grow a couple pineapple plants, but they're not very
not very
cold
responsive.
tolerant.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, mostly tropical fruits. My hot sauces. I do grow blueberries, and I made
yeah,
a blueberry hot sauce
yeah.
a couple years ago. That was actually really good. It was I had a purple pepper. It's called a purple UFO that I grew, and
Oh
so I was
wow.
like, all right, a purple pepper. I've got to. I've got to make a purple hot sauce, like
Yeah.
no question about it. And so I was like, what other ingredients could I use? So it ended up being a blueberry, purple UFO, lemon bourbon hot sauce
Wow.
that was really good. Very small batch, but yeah, friends and family loved that one. It was really
Nice.
good. It was fermented, so it was super nice. Enjoyed it.
Nice. Yeah. Well, you mentioned the fermented piece. I have dabbled really in a really shallow way into making
Cool.
fermented hot sauce. So I made it's just very basic. I did like the lacto ferment
Yeah.
with jalapenos and like, maybe some aromatics. So I think I had like garlic and shallot and
Yeah.
strawberries
Awesome.
to do that. But is there any like favorite combination or favorite like maybe like surprise um, flavor that you've come up with? You mentioned the blueberry, the purple hot sauce, but are any others that kind of are your champions?
Yeah. You mentioned the strawberries. I have one fermented one that I really like, and it's a fermented mango strawberry hot sauce.
Mm,
So it's like mangoes, strawberries, limes, and then just a bunch of peppers fermented. Um, and I actually just bought mangoes this weekend. I'm about to make another batch of it and try with some different peppers than I used last time. But yeah, the last one of those I let go for 9 months. So that was pretty cool. It
wow.
had like really deep flavor.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah, so that's kind of like a unique combo, I think. How did yours come out, by the way?
It came out really, really well. Like it was
Cool. Yeah.
I loved the flavor on it and it was very basic. It was not a
Hmm.
super long ferment. It was like it wasn't in like a gasket or anything. I was just like burping
Yeah.
it. And so I think I did it like for 7 days and
Cool.
then
Yeah,
like
that's all you need.
and like blended it like with like I would use the brine to kind of thin it out to where I wanted and stuff.
That's
Um
awesome.
and it was
Cool.
it was really good, and I was
It
like,
really is like pretty simple. Like I'd
"Mhm,
encourage anybody who hasn't made hot sauce before to try it because there's not much to it. And
yeah."
the whole
But
world
that
of fermentation is pretty cool too.
yeah, and I would imagine that for you, especially when you've done it to maybe a greater scale than a lot of people who are cooking at home have done, you get to reap the rewards of um, the simple kind of input, but with the extraordinary results. You're like, wow, this is so cool that like
Yeah.
I put in the work and made this, and this this food product that's greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah. No, that's super rewarding and like it's always just so fun trying one. Uh like after waiting all that time and stuff. Um it's always just yeah, super fun. It's like a big experiment.
Yeah, 100%. Any duds that you've gotten, ones that you were riding super high on, and then you're like,
For
man, this just
sure.
came up way short.
I literally have like a book that I write everything in, whenever I make one because yeah, like we mentioned, it can be months before you crack it open. You're like, what did I put in this jar? Was this 3% salt or was this one 3.5? Like, so I have a book, I write everything in, and oh man, probably like maybe 25 to 30% of the pages are like fails, like that I've had to dump out. Just there's a lot that can go wrong with fermentation. I mentioned it's simple, but yeah, just stuff can go wrong. It can mold or you can get bad stuff in there. It's food safety is very important as well. Experimentation's fun, but food safety is important. So um, yeah, I always like have a like test the pH of the ferment after, and you want it to be below 4 to be really safe. So I've had some in the past that just haven't reached that, and I'm like, I'm just gonna give this to my friends and family. It's not worth it to
Yeah.
to risk it. Just chuck this one. We have plenty of peppers, so
Yeah, any that have been like, safe, like they've not molded or anything, but just the flavors didn't come out the way that you had hoped.
um, I had one that came out like way too hot. I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
expect it to be as spicy as it was. I was growing these peppers and they're called red devil's tongues. So I don't know why I thought that would be too hot, but yeah, I fermented that one and it was just like for me personally and my palate, it was too spicy to eat. Um, so that one was definitely one. I sent it to some friends who like their stuff a little hotter than mine. I like mine, so I think some of them enjoyed it. Um, I think probably early on I made some batches of hot sauce, like maybe not some ferments, but just I think my first attempt at a mango hot sauce, the sauce just came out like brown, like
Okay.
it looked like a light brown salsa that just looked kind of gross and didn't really.
Sure.
It tasted like apple cider vinegar and looked kind of gross. So it was like, oh, I don't know about this one.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Well, part of the whole excitement with hot sauce is being able to use it with cooking and foods. And you mentioned that that's something that you and your fiance like to do a lot. What is y'all's favorite? Let's go application of the hot sauce. Like, what do you like to use the hot sauce for the best? And then maybe just completely separate from the peppers altogether. What's your favorite thing that you guys like to cook?
Man, that's a good question because we do cook a lot. We've been making we've been incorporating the hot sauces into a lot of like other sauces, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like salad dressings. We had like a salad for lunch that we prepped this week, and it just has the best dressing. And it was like mayo and hot sauce and cilantro and just a bunch of stuff we put
Yeah.
in the blender and blended up. Um, we make like this one meal. It's buffalo chicken chowder, so it's like
Mm.
potatoes and chicken and hot sauce and stuff in a soup that's really good with like some coconut cream and stuff. Um, yeah, I don't really know about favorite thing because we kind of go all across the board with stuff. So it's always just fun, like experimenting and spending time together and stuff.
Yeah. What and is there any particular way that you like to test out the flavor of the sauce? Like, is there a baseline um like food that you're going to use it on? Like my immediate thought is if I'm testing out the sauce, making it with like wings is like
Yeah,
what I kind of immediately think of. But I wonder, is there something like that or similar to it
yeah.
for you?
Wings are a good one because it's simple. I of course always try it just straight up, like multiple times as we're cooking it, and then also after because you need to taste it to see if you need to add salt or whatever. Um, but yeah, wings is a good one. We've even done before where we've made wings and then like how many batches of hot sauce do I have a bottle of in the fridge? So we've gotten them all out and done our own little hot ones thing
Nice.
uh, with the wings and retried all of our own hot sauces and like wow this one's good. Like
Excellent.
give ourselves a pat on the back. So
Love that. That's awesome. Well, I'm kind of coming to a conclusion of the questions that I have. Are there any kind of thoughts or questions that are bubbling up for you?
um, I I can't think of many. Like I know we talked about the YouTube and yeah, and I spurred that into like Riverbend Hot Sauce just because we're right by the river here in Nashville, so that's kind of where that came
Nice.
from. Yeah, but I'm trying to think any questions. I was today watched a couple of your YouTube videos. Are you liking YouTube at all?
It's a,
Or
the main thing for me is I just want to make it available as a
yeah,
podcast. So I'm not if people want to watch the episodes rather than listen to them, then I want to give
hmm
them an avenue to do that. So I'm happy
for sure.
to give that to people who don't use Spotify. So yeah, I just do the recordings on video anyway. So
Yeah,
I like
might
it.
as
I
well.
like it. Yeah, and I like the interactions a little bit better where we've got the facial expressions and we can go back and forth and whatnot. Um, but as far as like pursuing like YouTube as like a
Yeah,
channel or like the main way to get my content out there, not necessarily.
Mhm.
But that's not necessarily what the podcast is for either. I've just really enjoyed getting to connect with folks that I haven't seen in a
Yeah.
long time, or I want to know more about what they do. And it's been a really cool way to get to do that.
Yeah. And like we mentioned earlier, I mean, I think you'll definitely uh, continue succeeding with by just doing that. Like we're like, if you like doing this and like if you like what you're doing, I think people will like to watch it and listen to it and everything. So that's probably the biggest part of it. Yeah, I'm interested to watch it grow and stuff. I I
Thanks. Yeah.
I, I know nothing about Spotify, so that's so impressive to me that you're all hooked up on there too. YouTube was hard enough to figure out. So
Yeah,
um,
no doubt. It's I liked getting it figured out because like now it's all where it's all set into place. So like just having my little system of plugging and playing, um, but yeah, it's at the same time it's never been easier to have a podcast. So I'd encourage
yeah,
people that if they want to do something like it, then they just should.
yeah, no, I agree. Like you got nothing to lose. I've seen that too through the pepper thing. Like it doesn't hurt to try. Um, but yeah, I remember seeing on Instagram you posted like your year end uh, totals or something like that for the Spotify Wrapped. I was like, man, that's so cool to see that. I love the analytics and stuff. So it's
Yeah,
cool you get to see that on Spotify too.
100%. Yeah, it's been a big thing that I've wanted to like share with folks too, is that
Yeah,
like I want them to like get a piece of the journey as I'm going through it too. Um
cool.
but yeah. Well, I like I said, I don't have any more questions, but our tradition at the end of the episode is giving the opportunity to for each
Cool.
guest to ask a question to the next guest. So I've got a question from episode 40's Holland Coleman, who is my
Okay.
brother-in-law. And then after you answer that, I'll let you ask a question to whoever comes next.
All right. Cool.
Let's do it. So, what's the fastest way to make the most money in your field with or without principles? Yeah, so I forget exactly how we got to that spot
Yeah.
necessarily, but he just graduated from seminary, so
Okay.
I think he likes to stir the pot in that way.
No, that's a fantastic question and actually one that's like very relevant to where I'm at now in my business.
Okay,
So
tell me.
I own a hot sauce business, but I have no hot sauce for sale right now yet. And that's because of, we kind of touched on the food safety thing. There's a lot of paperwork and checks and licenses and everything you have to get to sell your food. So, so yeah, it's just a long process and very expensive. And that's if like me as Jack want and Riverbend Hot Sauce want to make and package my food and sell it. So this isn't immoral, like a ton of people do it, but you can also just like basically pay to play and get
Mhm.
a co-packer, it's called.
Yeah,
Um, and they have all the licenses and uh, all the licenses and facilities and um, like contacts at all the testing agencies and stuff. So like I could, contact a co-packer and say, hey, here's my hot sauce recipe. And they'll probably have a minimum order volume and stuff, and they'll do like everything. But it's an astounding amount of money. And then you also, I've seen like on Reddit and stuff, people say you don't have as much control over the end product, because obviously you're kind of subbing that out. Um, and people like my sauce, so I want it to be my sauce. So I'm happy to do it kind of the slow way too. It's not my full-time job or anything, and I really just have this good sauce I want to share with the world. But that would be the fastest way to make money, is to
gotcha.
just say, here's a recipe I came up with, like give me 10,000 bottles or whatever the minimum order quantity is, and then kind of deal with it that way. But
Yeah, it's funny you say that too, because like that it reminds me of what I think a lot of liquor brands, especially like celebrity brands, even uh,
yeah,
uh, maybe experience or do or take advantage of.
yeah,
Um, in that they are working alongside a company that has all of the means. They can
Yeah.
make it happen, and then they're presenting themselves like as the brand, but like they're using the recipe, so there's a little bit of
Yeah.
truth in that, but you've scaled so much faster than you ever would, where
Yeah.
they're maybe cutting corners in that brand's like identity, like you said, with
Hmm.
you don't get the agency in the end with all the final say on the taste and stuff like that. So that's interesting. I've been
Yeah.
especially like tequila is like one of the bigger ones that
Hmm.
I think of.
And more power to them if they can do that. It takes a lot of money to do that, but it's probably the fastest way to hit the market with a marketable product. So if you can front the money up front, and you'll be selling product months and months sooner and getting money back. It's kind of the old spend money to make money thing. Um, but yeah, just especially like me as a small guy coming in to one of these co-packers that might be packing for like Heinz and people like that.
Yeah,
Like they're making one product with an order of 100,000 bottles. Like, oh, we got to make 500 or 1,000 bottles for this guy. Oh yeah, let's just whip that up, but like late on a Friday, and crank it out for him, whether it is what he wants or not, type thing. So
yeah,
um, yeah, maybe one day, but
nice. That's well, I like that. Thanks for Holland. Thank you for the question.
yeah, it's a good
um
one.
well, Jack, is there a question that you'd like to ask to whoever comes next? Something that kind of comes to mind for you.
I'd probably ask, what is your favorite pepper? I know
Favorite
that's
pepper. Mm.
I know that's one that you asked me. I didn't really ask you. What's your favorite pepper?
Um, Man, I feel like I might not know enough. Like
Yeah.
with it. I love a habanero. I frequently like sauces or ingredients that um that are utilizing habaneros. I tend to like a lot.
Yeah.
I like the smokiness of a chipotle as well.
Cool.
I'm 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 into that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But like in the same way, I feel like I'm not the what's the pepper that you mentioned? The
The
white one.
white fatali. Yeah.
Yeah. See, like that feels like a good answer
Yeah.
because I'm not.
Very like niche. Like you wouldn't.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll have to.
I'd love to give a more specific answer like
Yeah.
that, because I
Yeah.
think the ones that I know are
Hmm.
probably maybe the more accessible, more
Yeah.
vanilla type flavors.
Definitely. I'll have to send you some of my white fatali hot sauce for you to
Yes.
try.
Yeah, 100%. I'd love to try it. I'm excited
Cool.
to. What is your favorite pepper? All right, well, whoever comes next,
Yeah. I
you
hope
can
they've done their studying. Like, but yeah, like you said,
absolutely.
there's definitely those like those low hanging fruit ones, which like we hear about. I think like 5 years ago, if you'd asked me how many peppers can you name, I'd be like, bell, jalapeno, habanero,
Yeah.
like maybe ghost pepper.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
could
there's
I could
just
give you like Serrano is probably
Serrano's a good one.
it's
Yeah,
a yeah. I could do that. It's a probably but and like shishito, but
yeah, those are all
that's
good
really
ones.
where I'm topping out probably.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I cut it back a bit this year actually because I'm kind of focusing on the white fatalis just for my sauce. So I have like 12 or 14 white fatali plants,
Wow.
and then kind of the other half of my garden is a mixed bag. So I've got like the Scotch bonnet, lemon drop, um, and then Tabasco. That's an easy one. People might get um, hatch chili, things like that. So,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
I love that. Well, it's a great question. I'm excited to hear
yeah,
the answer there.
I would definitely have
I
to
would
tune in.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Well, if you've made it this far in the episode, make sure that you go on the Instagram post and give us a comment using a pepper emoji, or comment which pepper is your favorite. Too, that'd be a good way to let us know that you made it this
Yeah,
far. I love the support there. But Jack, thank you so much for taking the time to do this on a weeknight and
Yeah, for
kind of
sure.
laying it all out there. Super interesting.
No, I appreciate you having me for sure. It's been fun just like catching up. Definitely need to do this like more often, not on the podcast. So
Absolutely, man. I'll let you go here. We'll close out the episode. It's going to conclude episode 41 of When I Was Your Age. We appreciate you listening, and if you've made it this far, and we'll catch you in the next one.